You're good.
Okay, it's 7:03 PM. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by advertising the regularly scheduled annual meeting notice in the official newspapers, providing a copy of the agenda to the newspapers, and posting a copy of the agenda at Borough Hall. Would you please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, would you please proceed forward with the roll call?
Councilmember Bernhardt. Councilmember Doherty.
Here.
Council President Lee Tag. Here. Councilmember O'Brien.
Here.
Councilmember Updike. Here. Councilmember Warner. Here.
I will now move into our first public comments portion of our meeting. Please just state your name for the record. Is there a motion to open our first public comments portion of the meeting? And there is a second later in the evening as well.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The public comment portion, the first one, is now open to anyone in the audience. Are there any public comments?
Hello.
Hello.
Here we go, 31 6th Street, representing Art Yard. I just wanted to come and give an update on our permit request for the upcoming Hatch Festival. We've been meeting with Chris DeWire, the Public Safety Director, in terms of the parade route, and there was an overwhelming consideration among our staff and other coordinators of the event that we really wanted to engage the downtown merchants and have our parade kind of go through downtown. So we spoke with Mark Gagner and Chris DeWire as to a way to effectively have a parade route go down Bridge Street. So we do have some updated parade route documentation for you all, so you can get an idea of what the thought is. The first part of the hatch will still continue to happen at the courtyard of Art Yard. Once the procession parade starts, the plan is to go out onto the towpath, hold traffic at Bridge Street to cross into Sunbeam Park. We'll have a processional around Sunbeam Park with a drum band called Bacala. So it'll be like anywhere between 5 to 10 drummers. All the parade birds will dress around in their finery and do a little dance, get to see each other. We'll do a couple loops around the park, and then the plan is to come out of the park, proceed down on the eastbound side of Bridge Street, down to Trenton Avenue, make a right on Trenton Avenue, and then right onto Front Street, and return back to our yard. There's a number of closures designated on the different corners that Chris is thinking is the most effective way to close the streets, but still have traffic being able to route through during the parade as well. And then once we land back at Art Yard, we're going to close a portion of Front Street, starting at Lot and coming around the corner, just about where the end of the parking lots or the parking spots are. That are, I think some of those are Bridge Cafes, a lot of spots, and then there's public spots there. So that's just going to be a little bit of an overflow for attendees. But the dance party, the drummers will be back at our courtyard. We also plan to have a marching band lead the parade.
Okay.
So there'll be a little bit of little noise, a little excitement. The other plan is to hopefully provide small toy pianos for some of the merchants in town. So that we're hoping they'll come out and kind of excite the parade route a little bit. We have some marching band xylophones that we're going to hand out with the hopefully help of the business association. Excitement happening so that people can come out to the side, the fronts of their businesses and cheer us on a little bit. So just wanted to give that update, and I think we're all good for that, but I just want to put that on public record.
I had the same response from the public safety director. I'm like Gander, I keep saying Gander. From Chris DeWire as well. He said that you all met, you mapped the route, and the only thing confirming that the parade itself would be about 20 minutes.
20 to 25, depending on the number of attendees, we're expecting in the neighborhood of 400, which is what we had for Aqualuna. However, Aqualuna was a rainy night, and so we think that the numbers might have been a little bit lower, so I think we don't have any problems foreseeing crowd management. If our crowd is a little bit bigger than that, it'll just lengthen the time of the procession.
Okay.
But between the areas that we have designated, I think we have plenty of room for everybody to accommodate. The one thing that Chris did suggest was that we restrict parking on Bridge Street in that lane so that we don't have
Enough
the
space.
opportunity for somebody who is parked there to try to get out during the parade. It was Chris's suggestion that we do that, but we'll see if there's any kind of issue with that, then we might be able to provide an alternative option of maybe putting mailer or flyers out on the cars that are parked there to let them know that
Yeah, that's,
during this period of time, this
Parking
market
available, yeah.
Yeah.
you may be.
Yeah.
What time's the parade again?
The hatch starts at 2. We've got about 45 minutes to an hour's worth of programming in front of our yard. So roughly 3 o'clock, the parade will start. Till about 3:30 and then 4 to 4:30 back at our.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably, if you were gonna restrict, you'd have to do it ahead of time, otherwise they're gonna be in there.
Right,
Yeah.
right, which is.
That's like prime time, yeah.
If we had our druthers, it would be wonderful to have that restricted, but I realize that that's a restriction that would have to probably be roped off the night before, as we do for Riverfest when we close the roads. And if that's an inconvenience to business owners to restrict that parking in the morning, which, since we're not actually starting to parade until later in the afternoon, I
Yeah.
understand that could be an issue, so. Anita, our coordinator and I have been talking about potentially just creating that window mailer that we can just put on the windows of cars and say, approximately this time to this time, that we'll be leaving, so. Just try to hopefully refrain. from
Yeah.
Pulling out or trying to park while the parade's going.
Is that just being sorted out with the business association a little bit?
In
Parking,
terms of the restriction of
Yeah,
the parking, I have not spoken to them yet.
Okay.
There's a meeting next week. Is it? Yeah. That was again, like it was.
Okay.
It was Chris' suggestion.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
says, that he said it as well, that he agrees with the restriction, but not with it being restricted the entire day and taking the spots offline.
Yeah.
And just a way to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I think it would most likely be, what makes the most sense is just to have a volunteer that can walk the street for the hour beforehand, and if anybody comes in or out, we can just put a flyer on the windshields and just let them know.
Right.
that Between this period of time, here's the parade route, this is what we'll be doing. You're more than welcome to hang out and check us out, but try to avoid traffic coming through that space.
Yep.
For the 15 to 25 minutes.
Or what I've dealt with before, you put in no parking signs 2 to 4.
Yeah, I've seen that in
That's what I was just
municipalities.
about to suggest, because I'm
Yeah.
a little worried about, even if you put things on people's car, they might have a plan for 4 to 6 hours.
Right,
So they might not get back to their car to see it. So if it's
If it's posted,
preemptive,
yeah.
if it's posted
I
preemptive.
think that would be wonderful if we
I
could
think so,
post
too.
that.
Or whatever the time is, yeah.
And again, we're more than willing to have a volunteer or an art yard staff person be able to
That could
try to
be
help
that.
coordinate that stretch of Bridge Street beforehand. Just to like be a parking aid there.
yeah,
Mhm.
The second page also has designated areas that we're gonna be putting parking signs up, to help direct people to park at. We had that roped off the same way that we normally do for Riverfest or Aqualuna. For some reason, we didn't get a lot of people parking there for Aqualuna, even though we had 400 people and we had 2 cars in that lot.
Huh.
Which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, people walked or came in on bikes or teleported, I don't know. So hopefully we'll have a better turnout and use of that parking.
And then are you shuttling people from?
Now we're suggesting people get there at least 15 minutes early to get a
To
nice
walk.
healthy walk.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
all right, sounds good. Any other questions?
Just Eric, on your map here on the first page,
Mhm.
red arrows are northbound traffic,
Yes,
blue arrows are southbound or westbound traffic,
correct, yes,
and the orange dots are traffic cones.
correct.
So the intention is to close on Trenton Avenue, all traffic would be restricted to northbound, there'd be no southbound traffic. And the parade would go up the side the southbound would normally go on?
Correct.
Okay. And then.
Mhm.
And the orange. Orange lines that are across the streets, those are street closures.
Those are barricades for the closures,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, and then the black lines down on Lot Street by 7. Is that the later closure you're talking
Correct.
about?
Yeah, so that blockage that's at Bridge Cafe would move down to
Mhm.
the end of those parking spots, and then the one that would be at Trenton Avenue would move just on the other side of Lot Street, so that's open for the residents to get back.
Okay, and that's post parade, when things are back at, okay.
That way, we just have a little bit of that curve area as an overflow for empties.
And how long is it? Okay.
Now, just finally, so Bridge Street would be closed completely, west of Harrison for that period.
Yes.
Okay, what's happening with, Pennsylvania, traffic from Pennsylvania that's coming across the bridge one way into Frenchtown?
That would be held while we're exiting the park, and then we'll have, one of the Frenchtown police cars follow as a follow car. And then as soon as the parade moves out, the people that have been held on the bridge can progress behind us.
So, just to make sure I understand, you're going to come out of Art Yard and go, east on Lot Street to the right, and then up Trenton to the north, and then west again on Bridge, and then up Harrison? Is that? I'm not sure.
I think it's the opposite. So we'll be coming out of the front of our yard.
Yeah.
And going on the tow path
Okay,
up to Sunbeam. So
Yeah.
we'll close we'll have a closure at the bridge just for us to cross into Sunbeam.
yeah,
And then that'll open again while we're in Sunbeam, and then we come out Sunbeam, head east on Bridge Street to Trenton, and then south on Trenton.
okay, so just loop like that, got it.
And, Director Dwyer will work with the Bridge Commission, I'm sure, to do the, flow of traffic. That's how it generally works. We have to stop.
Yeah, he had mentioned that in our last meeting, that he would be in contact with them.
Okay,
Any other questions on this? No, okay, thank you very much.
We hope that we all are able to join us and put on some feathers and fanfare and have fun.
May 17th, right?
It is.
May 17th, the rain date's the
What
18th,
time is the?
but I think really we're gonna push to go on the 17th. If it's just another drizzle situation.
Yeah.
Like it was last one, obviously there's lightning or thunder or high winds, we'll push to the next.
Yeah.
You know that it's the same day as
That's right,
Pride,
That's
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah, well, that's one of those unfortunate things.
I know, yeah.
Geez.
So that might actually affect our numbers, and depending on how you look at it, it can either be a good or bad thing.
Right.
Or it'll make the parade a lot shorter and move a lot faster, so, you know. I think we'll still have a robust turnout. A lot of people coming already to the workshop,
Yeah.
and making costumes and things like that.
Great, all
Excellent.
right, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Additional public comment? Any other public comments?
I'm sorry, we just came in a little late,
Yeah.
about anything?
Anything, yep. Just, please just state your name for the record. You could, whatever's more comfortable for you.
I'm Chris Kenya, and this is my husband, Paul Brinkman from 18 Ward. And we just wanted to, make some comments about some concerns about the Thompson track, which is going to be turned to some sort of preserve. And we know, we read through some information about, how a plan is going to be amended for it. And this weekend, my husband talked to somebody who was up there, who we understand has started blazing some trails. And we know, we've heard that there's been poaching going on during hunting season. And even a resident has taken to doing some things on the Thompson land with waterways. And we just kind of believe like an ounce of prevention type thing is worth a common cure, and just have some concerns about, things we've read about how there should be neighbors involved, and the neighbors should be addressed about this. Okay, but yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Paul Brinkman, as she said, I'm on 18 Wood Street. And I'll just, I guess, start the beginning of this, which happened last Saturday. That was the 29th of March. And I was in my driveway, and as across from my driveway is where there's the #1 retention basin, part of the whole construction project up there. And there was someone over there taking pictures, with he had a backpack on and everything, he's taking pictures with his phone, and he's over there photographing some of the, I guess the debris that was left behind by the contractors in the woods and all that. And he saw me and came walking over and he introduced himself, and he was from the Environmental Commission. And he said he had heard through a meeting that there were some issues up here and he wanted to come up and address, take a look at them, see what's going on. And, you know, I made suggestions to him as far as, you know, he asked, was there anything you have concerns about? I said, of course, the debris in the woods and all that. But the fact that they left this big open space here where there was, they called it their, staging area, where you have the basin, basically the pit in the ground. Then you have all this land that was flattened and whatever for the staging area, their equipment. But now that it's gone, it's just dirt flattened. And I said, it'd be nice if they would have planted a few trees here or something, just to block this and have growth go in there and all that. And this individual said that, yeah, okay, well, we can think about that, whatever. And then he said, by the way, I like hiking and I like mountain biking. And, you know, they, whoever they are talking about putting trails and everything back in the 70-acre Thompson, the track back there. And I said, oh, really? I didn't know about that. So he saw two of my neighbors on the other side of the woods on that side of the street, and he went over, oh, I have to go talk to them. So he left. So I decided to look into this online and look up some minutes from the Frenchtown Environmental Commission. This is February 24th. And it basically says, #1 was a motion was approved to resubmit a resolution to the Borough Council regarding a trail system for the Thompson Track. The resolution also includes naming the property, marking the boundaries of the property, notifying the neighbors accordingly, and identifying a parking lot. Tom W. will resubmit the resolution to the council. We don't know if that was done or not. But I guess our concern, #1, and I spoke to several neighbors about this who are bored of that, and they don't want any kind of thing happening close to their property with these tracks or whatever trails are supposed to be going on there. And also, it mentions identifying a parking lot for this, and does anyone know any information about where this parking lot is gonna be? Because we're concerned that since this individual, if I can say his name or not, I guess I can, his name is Kyle Johnson, was up there, that's who I met. And, but he mentioned nothing to me about a parking lot. He just said, oh, there's trails back there. He mentioned nothing to my neighbors when he spoke to them about any trails or anything happening. And we don't know if this is his way of saying he notified the neighbors or not. It's all kind of mysterious at this point.
So let me just chime in a little bit. So, a couple things. First is on tonight's agenda is actually to have our planner do an update to our overall master plan and the open space plan. And that is to create, what is the former Thompson track gonna look like? Because it was purchased with public funds, there has to be public access. So there will likely be some type of passive recreation that occurs up there at some point. But by doing this update to the plan, it involves a public process where we'll appoint some individuals to a committee. They'll make some recommendations. There'll be a formal public hearing. The public will get to weigh in on that process. Folks will be notified. They can give their thoughts on different ideas and uses, whether that's walking trails like you see up at the Frenchtown Preserve by Horseshoe Bend Road. Maybe it's something like that. There is an interest among some to have a dual use trail, so walking and mountain biking, but there hasn't been any formal decisions on anything yet. And the borough has not engaged with anyone to blaze trails. So there's nobody, you know, well, I'm sure there is access going on in that property for many years, for many different things. You know, it's great that we got the property. Now we got to kind of manage it. Maybe we're going to enter into an agreement with New Jersey Conservation Foundation, like a joint management program. We're not sure yet, but that's gonna go through this process. But we haven't sanctioned any work. We haven't sanctioned what's going to happen there. I mean, you even have, you know, people. There's some people that want to be able to like horseback riding up there. So there's a lot of different things that the public has brought forward from Frenchtown. I don't know what will or will not happen yet, but that's where we're going to have the public process. And Kyle Johnson is a member of the Environmental Commission who you probably ran into. That's
Right, right.
probably why it's up there. There was concern, there's a resident that's not in the borough. It's actually in Kingwood Township, but there was debris up there that there was concern that was dumped on the tract that's now owned by the borough, which we've addressed with that property owner. But again, that's gonna be a public process like we did when we, most recently, we did that with even the borough park. We did the changes there. We had a, it's a public stakeholder process. So that hasn't happened yet.
Anybody now it's use at your own risk type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's public property. So people are going on to it and, I don't know, Albert, do you want to, I mean, this is one of the things that happens when you acquire these. Yeah.
Green Acres property, encumbers property, and there has to be public access. It can be regulated, and that's part of what you're describing is that you're gonna have this process as to how to use it. You can't just simply put up a gate, you have to regulate it in some way.
But I have a question. You said there was poaching going on?
Yeah, well,
This is hearsay from the neighbors.
yeah, so they come from this during hunting seasons. Well, when we first moved in, there were hunters on the property. It was mostly.
That was-
hunters.
There was a hunting club
Yeah.
at some point.
There was a
back-
hunting club that
that
used to
used
lease
the
the
land.
lands.
So a neighbor told Paul today that in the, people coming from Creek Road up and poach on the property.
Yeah,
So,
didn't know this.
I mean, sometimes also I will say with these public lands, you can sell permits to hunt.
at
Sometimes they do
particular
that.
times of the year.
Yeah, to rate, like
It
at the
has to be.
preserve in Frenchtown, I know that they do allow deer hunting. At certain times of the year, it's bow hunting, and part of the reason is to control the deer population because they destroy all the underbrush and stuff, so. It's all a balance that we're gonna have to work out now with getting this land. It's a good thing we got it, but these are some of the growing pains we'll go through as we, figure out the next phase of that property.
so there'll be notifications. We just.
Yes, we're trying to start that process tonight by having the planner come in and run the process in accordance with the Green Acres standards for how we move forward.
Okay.
Yep, you're welcome. Additional public comment?
I just want to say I'm on the environmental commission, you're welcome to come, but it's posted right on that bulletin board, and you're welcome to come as a resident. Thank you. I'm Barbara, yeah.
Thank you.
Additional public comments?
Hello, I'm Steve Long from 17 Second Street. I just wanted to, clarify concerns that we had about our parking area. They had brought it up and reached out to a couple different people for the safe streets when they're doing the renovations for the sidewalks that we were put in contact with the engineer in reference to cutting the curb back a little bit. It was never done correctly, and we were suggested to speak with the engineer in reference to this, since it's going to be done at this time, to get the plans. It's official. The map that we were provided in the mail for what is currently planned does not indicate any sort of change. I just wanted to see if there was a person I can speak with.
Dipty can follow up. So last, we have hired another engineer to oversee NV5 and to kind of work with our residents. So we'll follow up again to see if Panoni Engineering, Dipty, that's been designated on the project, can follow up with you in the more specifics, because it's our understanding NV5, who we got the grant to do some of the work, they're not going to do actual interaction with the residents on an individual thing. So that's where we used some Panoni to help navigate some of the intricacies.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that the current plan, since this was suggested, the time to do it, since they're going to be
Yep.
ripping it all up. Is, I work out in the area, so I want to make sure that it don't come back and it's done, and then it wasn't addressed.
Yep. We'll Sam will make a note, because they've been working with homeowners. Actually, we just worked with TD Bank recently and a few others, so.
If you want to have him give you
Yes.
email and contact.
Do you have the contact?
I'll take it, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any additional public comments this evening? There is another opportunity to back in this.
Hi, thank you so much for speaking with me.
Could you just state your name for our clerk,
Laura
please?
Shepherd,
Yep.
815 Harrison Street. Thank you so much for speaking with John, the manager of the community garden. And thank you for making sure there's no trapping as of now until the meeting's held. And I guess my question was, who will be in this meeting, considering it's not exactly a very democratic thing? I don't know who would be part of this meeting.
It's the mayor and me and John.
Just, that's okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. I don't think I have any other questions, but thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly Murphy. Thank you for approaching the gentleman who I guess has been identified as someone who's been a longstanding gardener and I guess the default leader. Lauren did fill me in on whatever you shared with her, but I too am questioning, I guess what is your goal of meeting with him? If we have already discussed the fact that the property belongs to the borough, and we've already, I think, had some sort of a humanitarian agreement that senselessly trapping squirrels, which are not pests, it's not ethical, it's ineffective, it's illegal to transport them across state lines. What's, like, has there been a cease and desist?
Yes.
Like saying, like, from here on, you shouldn't be, and will that be filtered out to the rest of the garden members? Because I just feel like there's a vacuum of communication.
Right, my understanding is, I had the conversation, John Meisen is the head of the community garden. He is the person that is the leader. There isn't a board or any infrastructure, it sounds like. To me, it seems like we have to get more involved as the borough. In terms of not only helping them with their policies, their queue or waiting list, but looking at ways that we can be a little bit more involved in the process. That's what we're looking to gain out of the meeting. We want to also see what their rules are so that we can review the rules and make sure that we're all in agreement that that's how it is essentially borough property that is operated by the community garden. So
I can share the rules with you, I mean, and for the rules, they clearly said, if you don't agree or if you don't abide by it, you can relinquish your property.
I understand, I was told that as well, but we told them, I was very clear on the conversation that there is a cease and desist on all trapping until we meet and we discuss this matter further. So there will not be trapping happening. But I think that they need some assistance in actually administering the program so that we can make sure that the members of the community garden are, if they're on a waiting list, it's not, you're a friend of mine and you get swapped out because I'm relinquishing my plot, which it sounds like is happening here. So we want to walk through that process, and it makes sense to engage our Parks Commissioner in that conversation so that ultimately our Parks Committee would be the body within the borough that interfaces with the community garden.
Thank you.
So that's what we're looking to achieve in the meeting.
Just quickly, so I gave you packages of what was going on in the garden and different things and our concerns. So hopefully those will,
Inform, I want to, and highly appreciative that you gave other community garden roles to use as a point of comparison.
Because that seems like it's
right.
Yeah, it's managed.
Right.
We're gonna have to hit the reset button down there.
Yes.
That's basically the best way they need a reset, so that's the goal.
And it might be welcomed, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
Yeah.
I think at least what I got in the conversation with Mr. Meisen, and it was a good conversation. That he just needs help, and the borough is at a place right now that we can We've got a new team at the clerk's office. They're highly competent.
Thanks.
So I think we're in a place where we can lend the assistance to that group.
That is so great. Thank you. Thanks.
Any additional public comments? Right, with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Does anyone need anything removed from the consent agenda? We're good with the meeting minutes that are in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any, anything else? All right, roll call, please.
Member Doherty.
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilmember Updike.
Yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Moving on to ordinances, our first ordinance tonight, ordinance number 930 is a bond ordinance providing for improvements for the sewer utility pump station at Creek Road. Binding in the borough of Frenchtown, the county of Hunterdon, and state of New Jersey, appropriating $170,700 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $170,700 in bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. This ordinance is for introduction. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Just by way of background, this is to install a backup generator at the sewer pump station at Creek Road. And I know this has been kind of something that's been in the works for a while, but it's something that's needed. Right now, we rely upon a portable generator at times when we lose power, but there is some concern obviously about that in the long term as we deal with more frequent storms and power outages. The public hearing will be at our May meeting, and I don't have my phone in front of me because it's dead,
May
but
7th.
May 7th, 7 PM in this room. With that, we have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Doherty.
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilmember Updike.
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Item B, ordinance number 931 is a bond ordinance providing for improvements to the Department of Public Works facility, binding in the borough of Frenchtown, the county of Hunterdon, state of New Jersey, appropriating $189,700 therefore, including a grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, and authorizing the issuance of $39,700 in bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce this bond ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So this bond ordinance would be to put a backup generator at our DPW facility, and we received $150,000 in an appropriation from Senator Turner towards the cost thereof. So thank you to the senator for that. Any other questions or comments on this? With that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Doherty.
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilmember Updike.
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Item C, ordinance number 932. This is also for introduction. Before I forget, bond ordinance 931 will also be have a public hearing on May 7th in this room at 7 PM. Bond ordinance number 932 provides for various general capital improvements to Frenchtown Borough Park, binding in the borough of Frenchtown, the county of Hunterdon, state of New Jersey, appropriating $125,000 therefore, including a grant from Hunterdon County's Municipal Park and Recreation Grant Program, and authorizing the issuance of $47,619 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. Is there a motion to introduce this bond ordinance?
So
Second.
Councilman O'Brien and then Council President Leotag. Thank you to the Council President and Councilman O'Brien for your work on the grant application. We did receive a $75,000 grant towards these enhancements. Any other questions or comments on this? The public hearing upon approval would be also on May 7th at 7 PM in this room. We have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Doherty.
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilmember Updike.
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Bond ordinance number 933 provides for various roadway improvements binding in the borough of Frenchtown, the county of Hunterdon, state of New Jersey, appropriating $775,000 therefore, including 2 grants from the state of New Jersey Department of Transportation, and authorizing the issuance of $287,697 in bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. This is for introduction. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. And just by way of background, these were grants that we received to resurface lower 7th Street, actually full reconstruction, drainage, and then extend that paving up through 12th Street on Harrison. And then also this covers the grant-funded project, which includes South Washington Street, part of River Road, Hawk Street, and Front. Hopefully we'll have definitely the Harrison Street project done this year, and maybe if all goes according to the plan, we'll do the South Washington, Hawk, and River Road improvements as well. With that, we have the motion and second, so I just need a roll call.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes.
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
And then public hearing for this will also be on May 7th at 7 PM in this room. Okay, next item E, this is to kind of kick us off and get things going for our budget process. The goal is to introduce the budget. We'll talk about a special meeting, but mid-month. So the first part of that is ordinance number 934. This is the calendar year 2025 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and establish a cap bank. This is for introduction. This is part of the annual budget process that helps us bank some money if we have a future budget problem in the future. With that, is there a motion for introduction of this ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes.
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
So we'll have the public hearing on this as well on May 7th at 7 PM in this room. With that, our CFO advises that she'll meet shortly with the budget committee, but has a budget document prepared. We're wondering if the council's available for Wednesday, April 16th at 7 PM. No. no good.
Does work for me, but I can-
How about if, well. Are there any other dates that week that might work for anyone? Or is it out completely?
17th is open.
That would be the Thursday.
Correct. 15th is open.
Okay.
I have the 15th and the 17th of winter.
Good, John?
17th, yes. Good on 17th. 16th as well, but
Yeah, the 17th should be okay.
Okay, so we'll plan on the 17th for a special meeting at 7 o'clock for budget
Yeah.
introduction. Unless you want to start a little earlier, 6:30?
Let's do 6:30.
Is that good, everyone? 6:30? Okay.
6:30?
6:30 on the 17th.
I don't anticipate it'll be a very long meeting,
Okay.
Meeting here.
Meeting here.
because it's not, the format, it's just to introduce the budget document. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to resolutions. First one is resolution 2025-64, authorizing the use of competitive contracting process for the lead evaluation contractor. Is there a motion for adoption of this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes.
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Next is resolution 2025-65, authorizing the submission of a strategic plan for the Delaware Valley Municipal Alliance Governor's Council on Substance Use Disorder fiscal grant cycle, October 2020 through June 2026.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So just by way of background, this is run through the county. It's kind of catch up. Some of the stuff has already happened, but with the COVID time period, it kind of just passed. So that's why that you see that date going back to 2020. I took care of all the paperwork on our end to move forward, and the county administers it for us, so it's not too much to do. With that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes.
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
The next item, resolution 2025-66, is a contract award to Colliers Engineering and Design to amend the 2019 Open Space and Recreation Plan. Is there a motion for adoption of that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So, Councilman O'Brien and then Council President Leaptag. And then this was what we spoke about earlier. This will just kick off the formal process to outline a public process and plan for the former Thompson track. With that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
The next series of resolutions also pertain to the upcoming budget. Resolution 2025-67 allows for the average percentage of tax collection RUT formula. But we're going to use that for this year in the budget to provide some averaging of some of the collections, because we had a dip year in the 1 year and it's come up a little bit, but we had a large property that wasn't paying taxes and it's affected our collection number. So with that, is there a motion for adoption of this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? We'll say we're going to accelerate our tax sale this year. We're moving it up to June because of this particular property. So with that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
The next two resolutions are for deferral of local school taxes. So long story short, no, the school will be paid in whole. It's just that because the way the laws are written, even if we don't collect taxes from a property, we have to pay the county and the school, even if we don't collect. So you have to carry it on your books as a liability. So the accountants are recommending doing the deferral method for the schools still get paid, but it's an accounting trick on how you carry the liability on your books. So the first one is deferral of the local school taxes, resolution 2025-68. Is there a motion for adoption of that resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Question, is there, thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, just so I understand, is it like an installment, we're paying a portion now and a portion later? Or are we paying all of it now, but they're, like you said, carrying it on the books as if only half
It's
of it?
just how they carry it on the books, but the
Okay.
school will be paid just like they always have according to
Yeah.
the tax collection schedule. But I know that what happened, we have a development in town that hasn't paid some of the part of that development, and that's been a problem for us.
Just so I understand, are the taxes paid monthly, quarterly, or at other increments?
I think we front load a lot of it because
Yeah,
so we run on a calendar year budget, but the schools run on a different, they run the state cycle, so we end up front loading the money and then we
we do a one.
pay back over, like, we have to put cash up front to them a lot of times. They run from, their fiscal calendar runs from,
76,
what's that?
July to June.
76.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then we run a normal
One to
calendar
12.
year. Yeah,
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions on it? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
Yes,
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
And then resolution 2025-69 is deferral of the regional high school taxes. Is there a motion for adoption of that resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilmember Bryan with the second. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
yes,
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-70 is a contract award to Wind River Environmental for sludge disposal services.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
Any questions or comments on that? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
yes,
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
Can I move resolutions 2025-71 and 72 together? Or,
I prefer not.
okay. The first one, then resolution 2025-71 is an authorization to remove erroneous interest charge for block 3, lot 1 qualifier X.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty,
yes,
Council President Lee Tag,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
yes,
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
The next one, resolution 2025-72 is an authorization to waive interest for block 37, lot 14. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
Any questions or comments? Not hearing, any. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
Yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
And item, resolution 2025-73 is a contract award to Colliers Engineering and Design for a traffic safety study. This pertains to the Kingwood Avenue intersection.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
Any questions or comments on that? This was endorsed by our traffic safety committee before the meeting, and they're very happy that we're moving forward with this. And hopefully it'll lead to some things that we can build upon for future grants and other things. So with that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
And item K, resolution 2025-74 is authorizing the mayor to sign a standardized board resolution form and business associate agreement between the state of New Jersey Department of Human Services, Division of Aging Services, and the Borough of Frenchtown.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second.
Give that to
You know, one.
Councilman Updike.
Order.
So I want to thank Jean Herb for her work on this. We received a nice sized grant from the Department of Human Services to do some work on aging in place in Frenchtown and some things around that. So thank you to Jean for her work on
Yep.
this, on procuring that grant. And this will be something that'll be a joint planning board and Borough Council endeavor. So with that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
Yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
New business, we have rain dates for the Frenchtown Lions Club coin toss on May 4th and October 12th, 2025. Is there a motion for approval of that?
So moved.
Thank you.
second,
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Not hearing, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
Second item is approval for the Frenchtown Business and Professional Association requesting for River Fest funding for 2025. So the FBPA has put in a request for $5,000. I've asked our CFO to include that money preliminarily in the budget request, especially in light of the bridge closure. We want to try and help the businesses out this year with a good River Fest event, which is very important to it's more of a community event in my mind too. And it's probably one of the most expensive event that the merchants put together. So
Yeah.
we would be a prime sponsor of the event for this year.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
With that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
And then the other, we got here approval of the New Hope Ride 2025 on August 10th, 2025 through the borough. Is there a motion for approval of that?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second,
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dockerty?
Yes.
Council President Lee Tag?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilmember Updike?
yes,
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
The next item is approving a park reservation request for an album release concert and community gathering on May 31st at Sunbeam Park from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I have a question. They're requesting a waiver for insurance. Is that, I mean, I guess we have the power to waive that request. Is that,
I did not see that they were requesting a waiver.
yeah, it says request for insurance waiver, private individual user.
Hmm.
No, it says requests,
It's this part here.
where's, yeah, right.
I mean, I'm looking at the right,
Oh, no,
Right.
that cannot be, that if they're having people come in, that has to be adjusted.
yeah, I'm looking at this page, is that?
I'm at the
yeah,
wrong
yeah,
page.
totally.
Okay,
It's the activities form, not the reservation and use. form.
yeah, it is not, I don't, if it's being sponsored by an individual that is doing this. It's a celebration of the release of the album, and then there are businesses that are. Morgan, are you all partnering with? So that's not, okay,
It's not an FPPA function. Okay,
okay, so that's different than what I understood was happening according to the description.
I think we should
Let's put
table
it
it.
in,
Yeah.
put a pin in this, yeah.
yeah.
We'll come back to that one. Good catch, yep.
John, yeah.
Actually,
Good catch, eagle eyes, Doherty.
That was amazing.
Do you communicate now with, do you communicate with statewide now in Brenda's place? I would ask them what kind of cover, they should probably want a rider for the day.
Yes.
Yeah,
There should be a rider. It's not just,
Hey,
Sorry, so are we
We're
tabling
tabling
it?
it.
And that means, Sam, you're gonna follow up with the applicant and then would be on next month's agenda?
yeah,
or we can throw it on the,
On
they-
the special.
if they get the insurance in place, we could put it on the special meeting agenda.
It's not till
It's not till the end of May,
Sounds like an email.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
but if they can get the insurance, it'll just be pro forma.
right.
Right.
Cool.
Item E is approval of the Frenchtown Bookshop author reading events on April 14th, April 24th, May 6th, 2025, from 6:30 to 7:30 PM. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Not
Oh,
hearing,
can we have a discussion on this level?
I think we should have a discussion in terms of what our next steps would be with this applicant.
okay,
Because when we last, I think one of our last conversations with this applicant was a recommendation to go through the planning board process. So we, and Albert, you can chime in here, we've had conversations about sending notification to them to the Frenchtown Bookshop to let them know that if they are seeking differences in use for their property, that they should go through that process at the planning board and seek a variance.
this is related to live music events, right?
Correct, amplified music
Outdoor
and
events.
use of the outdoor property.
Outdoor events. Well,
Well, it's outdoor amplified, right? Or is it
Correct.
just-
That was what,
well,
Baseball stadium.
you're not equipped, from my view, you're not equipped to handle these on a monthly basis. If there's a variance that is required, the property owner should be asked to get a variance. Because from my experience sitting here, for example, this application didn't come in until over the weekend sometime.
Till Monday night.
So it didn't even make it on the agenda that was sent out to the public, that was published initially on Friday, were sent out to the council members. And my experience with them is that the dates also change and the type of event also changes, and it's changed sometimes while the request is being made here. You're a policymaking body, you don't adjudicate things. And from my view is, if there's a variance that's needed, they should go to the planning board, get the necessary variance where testimony will be given, an opportunity for the public to be heard will be given, and the planning board can make a determination of whether to grant the variance or not, and then what, if granted, what conditions to be imposed. Doing it on a haphazard basis for something that is not a town-wide event. If you look at the other events you've had here, they're civic events, town-wide events. These are more geared toward an individual use of a property. In addition, I know you've attempted to craft an ordinance to address this, but when you're legislating, you don't legislate for a specific property, you legislate for the entire town. So you tinker with it here, it has an unintended consequence here, and I think you found that as you were trying to prepare an ordinance. Okay, so because Frenchtown is an eclectic town, it's not a uniform town in terms of the structures, in terms of the uses. So that's my own view, as I said, I think while I understand the desire to help a business and promote that business, as you've done on these other things, I think asking you on a monthly basis to make judgments on what you don't have a lot of information on because they're not routine. I think that is a disadvantage to the council and to the residents of the town.
well, just for clarification, we did have, the zoning officer did clarify, but it's been a while now, but yeah, I think he's since retired now, but Ken Rogers had clarified what he thought was acceptable in uses with what you would expect with a
With a
bookshop.
Yeah.
Author events were, in his mind,
Right.
acceptable. Where it became an issue, mine, if I recall correctly, was that if it was amplified, no, you know, stuff outdoors, that he said that might become the issue, but like this.
Well, no, on
Right.
these, I think the motion is to approve. them.
Right, but I'm just,
Because
but for the
they're-
purpose of the focus of the planning board for the applicant would be
Well,
around the.
The applicant should make it their own mind as to what they're gonna request from the planning board. I don't think you should be telling them what. to
Well, no,
request.
but I think, we're clarifying that's the type of events that we're not proving going forward. It was really, it's around noise. That's where we've gotten the most
Around
public
noise,
input.
Yeah,
I think all three
Yeah.
events,
Author readings, yeah.
They're all-
yeah, they're
Yeah,
all author
yeah.
readings. That's why we felt comfortable in approving them today, because they're not,
None of them
It's
are
not-
amplified.
right, and, right.
Well, amplified music, I'm sorry,
Correct.
some of them
Yeah.
are amplified readings, but.
Well, hi, Helen, you're here.
Hello. Yes. Yeah,
So,
could you just say your name for the record, just so, thank you.
Thank you.
so, I just wanted to ask a question about these readings. So yeah, going back to what you were saying there, I think an author reading is consistent with the, operation of a bookstore, which was the essence of the zoning officers, you know, finding, before about, some of the activities. They said, well, this isn't really consistent with the bookstore. So, what I wanted to ask the, I guess applicant's the right word. Would there be amplification of the author, would the reader be using microphone?
So we have hosted events in the backyard without microphones. It is our intention to continue to do it without amplification.
Okay.
For most of the conversations that we have, and this is a conversation that we have with our authors. You know, they're usually used to speaking loudly, so they can
Right.
project well. But we have been going forward without amplification
Yeah.
for these backyard events.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't or you shouldn't use amplification. I was just a point of information, because I can understand speaking before a group. When you're outdoors, some amplification like that, just for voice, wouldn't be unreasonable either, okay? But obviously, if it can be conducted successfully without amplification, that's all well and good. You know? Okay,
Okay, thank you. Any other
yeah, I don't have anything else, thanks.
other questions?
Well, the long and the short of it is, whatever the zoning officer said, that's what should be followed. If
Yeah.
you're
And
not
that's-
following what the zoning officer has said, then a variance should be requested.
Okay,
Because there's kind of back and forth as to what they're doing or not doing.
yeah,
It's hard for you as a governing body. This person, we're accepting what they said on faith.
Yeah.
They're not sworn in as a witness, not to say that there was any misstatement, but there's a process for that. And if the zoning officer has ruled, then they have to comply with that, well, the zoning officer's determination. Anything beyond that would need a variance.
And Mayor, I think that's why it's important to follow up with a letter to that effect of reminding what the zoning officer said. And steering the bookshop in that direction if you're going to do events that are outside of the use of the space.
yeah. So let me ask another question in that vein. If you're conducting an event at your business that's consistent with the use, do you even need an activities form to be submitted? Because it's not a townwide event, right?
You're saying without microphones or without in general? Okay, that, I want to clarify what he meant.
Do these event forms? I think the zoning officer asked us to do this, if I recall,
But
it's been a little while.
But my memory of the ask.
Yeah.
My memory of the ask was a way that if we were pursuing an ordinance, if this was a compromise to move.
Yeah,
You had events scheduled through the season, we were trying to work
right.
with the business to. You know, not have your schedule completely blown and see if there was a way that we could craft an ordinance that worked for all of Frenchtown. it became increasingly clear as we progressed through that season that that was not something that was possible here. So, then we just leaned heavily on what the zoning official advised, and we'll just remind the bookshop that that needs to be the direction to go. Because as our council said, that is outside of the scope of the council, really.
If I may, if that is the direction, we are more than happy to pursue anything that the council deems appropriate. We're just trying to stay by the letter of the ruling and the conversation. So if that is the decision, I'm happy to do it. Any communication to that effect, I would appreciate.
Absolutely, thank you.
So just one final thing. So what you're submitting today in terms of this request, your understanding is that the author reading is consistent with the direction you got from the zoning officer about what was an appropriate use and what was not an appropriate use. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
All of these are in direct relationship to the sale of the book, which was really the guiding principle. And we provided documentation for all of our events that we hosted outdoors that were tied to the sale of the book, along like sales, venues, et cetera.
In the
That is sort
application.
of, right. That is sort of the main factor is whether or not it's sold.
Right. Great. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? So we had a motion and a second to approve these events. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Doherty,
Yes.
Council President Tag.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Yes.
Councilmember Updike,
Yes.
Councilmember Warner.
Yes.
All right, moving on to council comments. Councilman Warner.
I actually have something for you. Yeah, I rarely say anything, so, okay, so. I had an experience myself in town driving over the weekend. That I was curious if there was anything that we could do to discourage, basically what I encountered. So I was coming around the corner, right by the pottery store. And, you know.
On Ray Street. there,
Yeah, I had made a left off of Kingwood and I was,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
and I was
sorry.
coming.
So you're
like,
towards the river.
Right, going towards the
Kingwood,
river
make a
to
left.
make a left on Trenton Avenue
Yep.
to go home.
Yeah.
And, there were pedestrians on the street, on the corner, right in front of the pottery store. And I was watching them very carefully because they were kind of like meandering very close to the curb. And my impression was that they were likely gonna step out into the street. And they indeed did and went, and their intent was to cross from that corner over toward the coffee shop. I stopped and wagged my finger and said, no, like a grandma. And it pointed to the crosswalk. But it's not the first time that, you know, it's the first time I've had someone step in front of me off of that corner. But it's not the first time that I've seen people cross from that corner because they don't want to walk to the crosswalk, essentially. And so, but you know, crosswalk there, it is not gonna work.
No.
So if there was anything that we could do in terms of, because it's kind of blind coming from, you know, Kingwood Avenue toward Trenton Avenue, you're blind coming around that corner for a short time. And my concern is that, you know, people jaywalk all the time. Is there anything that we can do at that corner, because it is potentially dangerous? Some sign, something to discourage people from stepping off the curb. Like she and she didn't even look.
So,
Just
yeah, but the
boom.
problem is that like, that's exactly where a crosswalk shouldn't be. because it's
Exactly,
blind.
we can't have one
Yeah,
there,
I guess
so.
it's,
But there was part of the TAP grant conversation, right, where there were features that were discussed that would be put up there, whether there were, you know, when you go to some communities, and I don't know what the name of the actual fixture is, but it's a pole with chains to where it
The
really,
Ballards.
they're ballards, I guess,
Yeah.
but then they're also connected so that people
Yeah.
have to literally
Walk,
step over
Yeah.
it or
Yeah.
around, like,
yeah.
you're not gonna step over that.
There was talk of
Yeah.
putting those on
On
Ray
both
Street.
sides, actually, because the same dynamic exists
The other
on that
way,
other side of the
yeah.
street too, so it was something that was discussed. I don't, we're not.
We're not there yet, but I know they
but-
were talked about particularly on Ray Street near, Black Swan and stuff, and then part of it's also to
It would
deter.
be both
Area.
sides.
Right there in front of like J Daniels, so isn't there one right there?
Yeah,
Just not on the curb.
Correct.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
like feet
Steps
away.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm confused why
Like-
people just, we.
the angle's quick, that's why.
There was
Mhm.
also, there was also conversation about putting kind of like benches or fixtures there that would.
Like, yeah, something
prevent-
discouraging because, I was watching carefully. I just had a feeling. And, I'm so glad. I mean, of course, I'm only doing 25, but for somebody who isn't paying attention that acutely or might not be doing the speed limit, that could be tragic. And, and what really disturbed me about it was that the young lady that stepped into the street never looked up,
Yeah.
never, like, she just stepped right out. And it literally brought out the grandma in me. I was like, like, you don't do that.
Mhm.
Like, you're supposed to look. And if you make me wag my finger at you and say, no, you have done something really egregious. So, yes, I was just, I mean, we all, everybody does it. Everybody like jaywalks here and there. I lived in Lambertville all those years. Everybody was jaywalking
Everybody
everywhere.
does it in that same spot. like, to
Yeah,
get to
but
the
I
pharmacy.
know, I know,
Yeah,
but
it's not
but it
appropriate
is,
place to put a
right,
crosswalk.
right,
Yeah,
right.
like,
and you can't, you're right.
No, we
you
can't. We
Yeah.
actually
what I'm
explored
saying, you
in
cannot.
that TAP grant process, we looked at if there was a way that the engineers would sign off on shifting the crosswalk there. And they're like, no way.
Well,
you would never be able to.
But
because
then-
of the traffic
then
jam that would come from
alternatively,
Trenton,
they're-
like,
As a way to there's cars that park on that curb
Yeah.
constantly. The
Yes.
business is unloading there.
There's a load. yeah.
Which also causes a problem with sightline and you going out into the middle of the road, but
I think we should bring it back to the engineers.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is you have approved a traffic
traffic
study
study.
for
Yeah.
that a little
Same
further
reason.
away.
Yeah.
Reason, yeah.
At the corner, and this is a little bit
Mhm.
further up,
it's close
But-
enough, yeah.
but can you include that within the scope of their work and ask them to amend the scope of their work? I can't imagine it's gonna cost any more than what they've already.
Yeah.
No,
but it's a- yeah. And anything,
Maybe-
it could help us maybe inform some of the TAP, because,
Or we might have to do stuff outside of TAP depending on how long.
yeah.
This keeps
well,
dragging out.
that's true.
well, the thing,
Yeah.
my thinking was like, this was a nice day, but a relatively quiet day. in
On the
town,
weekends, you
even
guys,
though
it's
it was
bad.
beautiful.
always-
Yeah.
But like, once the weather really hits, like, how much of that are we going
Sure.
to encounter? And I'm, my concern is that, people just instinctively are gonna take the shortest route.
Mhm.
And that corner is just not the best place.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
we should definitely, we'll talk to the engineer and I think we should build it into what we're doing with Kingwood Avenue as it is, because that whole stretch is kind of problematic. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. That's all I've got.
Councilman Updike,
No comment.
Council President Lee Tech.
I want to report back that Morgan, Taylor and I went to attend the New Jersey Film Ready workshop last week. And while we have an ordinance on the books from 2020, we realized through our training that what they had advised 5 years ago has changed. So we will probably be looking to submit a new ordinance to bring it up to the recommendations that come out of the New Jersey State Film Commission, who are the sponsors of the workshop, along with the New Jersey Economic Development I don't know what they're called now, Economic Development Agency.
Who's that?
It's
The state?
yeah, it's
Not
the
sure.
EDA is, I think, from the state, under the State Department now, but so there's been a lot of efforts. Governor Murphy has created some tax incentives to bring filming into the state of New Jersey because for every dollar spent to bring film into New Jersey, you yield within the local economy $4.50 to $5 in return. If anybody saw John's film,
Yeah,
John's
The
film.
Bob Dylan.
the Bob
biopic,
Dylan biopic,
Which I'm blanking on the name.
it
of,
is
right?
called A Complete
A
Unknown.
Complete Unknown, that's right.
It was filmed in Cape May City. And so the businesses and the local economy saw a lot of benefit from hosting a film. And there are a lot of television shows. I don't know if anybody watches Severance. It's shot in Homedale,
Yeah.
at an old Lucent,
AT&T.
space, yeah.
Bell Labs.
Bell Labs,
Okay.
yeah, not Lucent, I thought it was Lucent Technologies,
Bell Labs
but,
became Lucent, yeah.
yeah. But the Lumen, yeah, where they go to work to forget is New Jersey. So, so we learned a lot about the benefits of bringing film in. We know that there's an interest in Hunterdon County because there have been television shows, movies shot here, and it's a way to also Morgan working through the FBPA is taking stock of what we have in terms of amenities here in New Jersey to offer the film industry. And we have to start thinking outside of the box too, because we think, oh, Frenchtown's so beautiful and what we have to offer in terms of beauty, but there's a lot of practical things that are needed when film comes to town. So we're trying to create this library of amenities and services that are offered here and open Frenchtown up for business a little bit and generate some additional revenue here. Now the bridge may hamper our progress moving forward, but in the immediate, but I think it's certainly a project that we should look at in the long term.
Mhm.
I also am attending the Shared Services Forum hosted by Hunterdon County on Saturday morning. I reported back at a previous meeting, I think it was 2 months ago, on the first in the series. And what the county is doing is highlighting services that are offered and wanting to connect with municipalities to talk up services that are available to residents. We spoke at length in the previous meeting about the library, for example, and it's really given us an opportunity, I think, to where we either work together on some services that are not really resident driven, but that the borough would benefit from, like street sweeping or public works partnerships, but also in knowing that services exist through the library. They have some really cool stuff. So once we're done with that series, I'd like to really put together a document that, especially for resident-based services, that we should put out there. So residents know that if you want to learn another language, you can sign up through the county for free and use their platform instead of putting out a pocket for,
Yeah, Rosetta Stone or something.
yeah, instead of buying Rosetta Stone, you can use the county's access. They have access to free passes to a number of museums. They have a great makerspace at the headquarters of the library. A lot of people don't know about some of these things. If you're trying to do your family tree through Ancestry.com, they have free membership there that you can access as residents. So these are things that we all pay taxes for, and we should know that these benefits exist. It's great programming.
Mhm.
So want to lift that up on our website maybe and in our town
Are you
halls.
attending that too or not?
I don't know that I can attend that one.
So there's gonna be a meeting on Monday night, the
Yeah.
7th. 6:30, you get food if you show up. There's this free dinner. But there's gonna be an informational session about county improvement authorities and how they work and what they do. And the county's actively exploring the possibility of creating one for the municipalities to engage with. So we could use a representative from the borough to attend that meeting.
Yeah, I cannot attend that. I have a work commitment.
Monday at 6:30.
Monday, this coming Monday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
it's at the
7th.
county administration building.
Yeah.
Darlene's trying to schedule.
yeah, I can't
Affordable
make
Housing
that
Subcommittee
meeting.
for 7
Okay.
o'clock that night, just so you're aware, I'm
Yeah.
not.
That's
So you can't make
tie
that
you up.
meeting either.
No, I can't make that
I
meeting.
can't make that meeting either.
Did you respond to?
I will respond to
Darlene.
our
Yeah.
planner.
So if we might have to do that meeting, the affordable housing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anyone else available would like to go? Okay, well, I'll send back information. But would you mention?
I might be able to, I have to check my schedule.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept, right? Hunterdon does not have an improvement authority currently. But I've been investigating this in my county hat with some outside counsels and bond workers. And it's very interesting, folks that do like the bond market stuff. We did an analysis and we figured out all 26 municipalities, everyone that did debt service in the last
Oh, yeah.
last year. And for instance, Hunterdon County, we just got a AAA bond rating from Moody's, so it's the best you can get. So we compared what all the towns have, and none of the towns have a AAA rating. Most are a lot of Bs, AA minus. So we did an analysis. We figured everyone that did debt service in Hunterdon County last year, all the towns, what would we save if they had a AAA bond rating and we did one set of financial documents, one set of processing, and it was like to the tune of $800,000 in interest and finance
Yeah.
savings. If we aggregated all the municipal debt across the county and did it through an improvement authority and leveraged the county's AAA bond rating. So it's an interesting way to help save taxpayer dollars without really doing much,
Right.
and it helps our property taxpayers. So we're studying it. In Hunterdon, it's not without its challenges and people just a little concerned about the idea of an improvement authority, but if you get past that and you look at the net benefits, it's a real savings to all the
Certainly is.
municipal officials and all the towns that go out to do debt. Similarly, if like a municipality needs to get a new fire truck, they could go through the improvement authority to get that financing versus going out for private placement on their own. So I think it could be a really good thing. That's why we're trying to socialize it with all the municipal officials and see if we could build a consensus and support for it, because there's some towns that could really use the help of having an improvement authority, especially smaller communities and those that already have a decent amount of debt.
Mhm.
So they could refinance it on a new issuance, take advantage of a better bond rating, and
That's
it
good money.
creates money in their municipal budget without a heavy lift. So that's one of the things we're looking into.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Oh, unless there's questions.
So I can probably go Monday.
That'd be great if you can go.
Yeah.
I'll send you all the details.
Okay.
And I also wanted to welcome officially Chris Dwyer is our new public safety director for the Frenchtown Police Department. So he started March 17th and he cross-trained with Director Gantner, whose last day was last Friday.
Yeah.
And he's still somewhat transitioning, but and so now we are working to post a position. We have posted a position for an additional police officer. So we have a couple of leads and are hoping that we get some applicants in response to the posting. So
Thank
that's
you.
all I have. Thanks.
Councilman Brown?
The only thing I have now is traditionally, annually, we do the park cleanup on Earth Day. But there's a lot going on that day with the Green Fair, we have a town meeting, fall
Mhm.
meeting. We may have to find an alternative day. I mean, it should still have the cleanup.
Mhm.
So it's either gonna be the 19th, which is 2 weeks from now, or
Okay.
I have to check the calendar for the town.
The 19th is Easter weekend.
Yeah,
And
that's.
I don't know if the reason why I didn't suggest that is, I don't know when the Easter egg hunt is. I think it is that day, right? Isn't it usually the Saturday before?
It
Easter?
is the Saturday. Yeah, I think it is the Saturday before Easter, I think.
So that's
Maybe we do it first week in May.
May,
Of
that's what
May.
I'm thinking. Yeah,
And we gotta get mulch too. We need to order mulch.
right,
Right, okay,
and I'll coordinate that.
okay.
Um,
Oh, wait, and April 12th is the first county shred day.
Oh,
To-
yeah, that shouldn't impact the,
No, I'm
Oh,
not saying, that. I'm
okay,
just saying
okay.
another day that, for people to put on the
okay.
calendar.
okay, I'll coordinate it for the beginning of May. And just confirm that there's no other events or,
Mhm.
So you're looking for the first Saturday of May?
yeah,
That's good.
Isn't river cleanup in April?
I think that's actually on the 26th.
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
it?
there's a lot going on
Rare-
that day.
Raritan Headwaters
Yeah.
Association runs one on the 26th.
Okay. That's it for me.
Councilman Doherty?
The Affordable Housing Subcommittee met last week before the regular Planning and Zoning Board meeting. And basically what we did was sat down with the planner and brainstormed through ideas for her to start incorporating into a plan, which she's now starting to draft. Essentially, the purpose of this plan, which is due at the end of June, to the state, is to present how we plan to meet our affordable housing obligation, which is in round numbers 40 units. And it includes everything that we can think of, all the different mechanisms that are available to us. So she's in the process of starting to build that up. And, we will have to vote on it as council, so there's not a lot of time to get it done, so she's moving ahead on it. And we're gonna be continuing to work together to, and of course, there'll be more information as it gets fleshed out.
Mhm.
Thanks for that update and thanks for your work on that. It's gonna be a lot of work for the borough. And just to put in perspective, in this year's budget, it's nearly $40,000 for us to do the affordable housing plan. So it's a pretty heavy financial lift as well.
Yeah. And it's complicated, and we are fortunate that members of the committee have a lot of institutional knowledge around this, which is helping
Mhm.
Our planner.
If I might just add
Sure.
to that, you will probably need a special meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Albert.
Because the plan has to be first adopted by the planning board
That's right, yes.
on 10 days' notice to the public. Then it is referred to the council and you endorse it if necessary. So because of the way your planning board and council meetings meet, if you do something at the end of May, at the May planning board meeting, you make the June council meeting.
Right.
But that doesn't really leave a lot of time for Darlene to finish her work. So you'll probably, at a minimum, need a special council meeting and perhaps also a special planning board meeting to do two things. One, to meet the notice requirements,
Mhm.
and two, to allow Ms. Green enough time to do the document, because it's not just a plan. It's all of the underlying documents, the ordinances, the spending plan, the marketing plan, whatever supports your plan. It's not just saying this site is gonna be used for affordables. If that site's gonna be used, you have to have an ordinance, not adopted, but a draft ordinance for review.
Okay.
So, if you've seen some of my emails to Darlene, I lead to her the planning, because she's very good at it. But I think the process you have to keep in mind, and because of the way your meetings fall, you're definitely gonna need a meeting in special meetings at both the planning board and the council to review that document.
Okay,
Yeah, one of this meeting, we're trying to organize another meeting. Made a note to myself to talk to her about schedule, so we can give you feedback on what that's gonna look like sooner, as soon as possible.
Right, because what you really need is a date from her
Yep,
when she's gonna be
Yeah, so you
finished.
can back it out.
And
right?
then you work your way backwards, notice is gonna have to be given in the newspaper. And I always like to leave in this case because at least in my experience, legal notices, the newspapers are becoming less reliable
Mhm.
on that to not just plan it for 10 days, plan it maybe for 12 or 15 days, so the clerk knows, oh, boy, the notice didn't come to the newspaper, there's at least a little fudge time.
Mhm.
There's really, these deadlines, the June 30th deadline is a statutory deadline. And so you have to meet it.
Mhm.
But it's more about the process that I want to
Right.
get across.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out because. We are moving quickly.
Yeah.
And if we miss a step on the timing, we will needlessly get ourselves, tied up, so to
Yep.
speak.
Just a couple things, I want to remind everyone, you probably saw the notification, but if not, the clerk should have the information by now. Hunterdon County is making available another $1 million for parks and recreation grants for this year. So, I cannot apply for that grant, so somebody needs to be the lead on that. We got the $75,000 last year, which is great. I thought this might be an opportunity to try and get some additional money that we didn't get last time for some of the stuff we had to pass up. But also, I know there's been a lot of conversation around skate park stuff. I know there's ambitions for something bigger at Old Frenchtown Field. But that might be complicated, might take time. Perhaps I sent to Councilman O'Brien a couple of these smaller prefab compact things that you can embed in existing parks.
And the skate
Playgrounds.
Skate park?
Yeah.
Or is it? Okay.
park- And the skate park
So that
committee
might,
talked about that before.
okay, this might be a,
Open to that, right?
this might be a
That's
way
great
to,
option,
if
too.
you want to do something, get some money towards it.
Yep.
That was actually my
Sorry.
idea. I said to them, I was like, how about we just get something going?
Something.
Yeah, it's something, and
Yeah.
they're prefab,
That's a great
they're
idea.
pretty easy.
Mhm.
It's not a lot of legwork and you give something, it's not as grand or as ambitious, but I've seen these in other parks in the
Yeah.
area and they're not a heavy lift to put in.
I like that.
And there's grant money
I
that
like
we
that
could
one.
pursue.
And Mayor, Bill and I can work on that
That'd
as
be
we did
great.
the last grant.
Yep.
I'm happy to help as well.
Oh,
Gonna reach out.
there you go.
There's a light in the back of Finbar that we had met with some of the homeowners about from River Mills about. Today I was able to make contact. I connected JCPenney Government Affairs with a representative from Art Yard, and that's also assisting with Finbar stuff. We're trying to find a way to work out that light, but they were in direct dialogue today, so that seems to be moving forward. There will be some updates in the next 48 to 72 hours on that. The county's economic development director, Mark Salick, has prepared palm cards like they did for Lambertville for the bridge partial closure. So I'll be getting those tomorrow, and Morgan, if I could give those to you, that'd be great to go into the shops. That, note on there with a little QR code so people can see the detour plan. And just like they did for Lambertville, so we'll have those for our businesses and we can get more if we need them. It also says, consider checking out Milford too while you're at it, so I think they're a positive enough for both communities, because we want to make sure nobody had hard feelings over it. And then finally, I'm gonna have a town hall on April 26th at 10:30 here, for anyone that wants to join. Is it 10:30? I don't have
I think it's 10.
maybe it's 10.
You
10 to
told me.
Check the
11:30.
calendar.
It's 10 to
Okay.
11:30.
My phone's
That's
dead,
what
so I'm
you've
like
done
at a loss.
historically.
So, yeah, 10 a.m., 426 here. And then finally, there's going to be another grant program coming from the county for municipalities that should be announced shortly for local law enforcement entities towards capital stuff. So that'd be another grant application we want to take advantage of. So with that, that's all I have. Anything else? Any other public comments tonight?
Barbara Bristow, 6 River Mills. Learning tonight about the album release party and concert at Sunbeam. I think the application for the Parkway says that speakers are to face out towards the river, but I'm wondering if somebody could remind whoever this vendor is that that's what should happen.
Sure. Yep, not a problem. Any additional public comments?
Hi, Morgan Taylor. I was just curious, I wasn't sure if I missed it, but I know maybe a year or two back, there was mention about like the downtown street improvement project that would bring like the lights and the benches and all sorts of other exciting improvements. Just wondering if that was still on the table, if we still had those grant funds, you know, like if there's any sort of update that I may have missed about that, because I have been getting questions about that. And I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed anything.
No, it's still planned. It's just been an awfully terribly slow process. You know, one of the challenges we have now, we're trying to get the first one done, which is the safe routes to school. And one of the things delaying us now is we don't have consent from the homeowners, all of them on Harrison Street. So we're trying to get that one off the table and then move into TAP. We've had some positive developments over the past couple weeks, but some of the homeowners aren't consenting for a variety of reasons. So we need to get that button down. But I know that work is, at least on we've gone through all the public information sessions that we had to do for both projects. I know that NV5 has made some progress with NJDOT. But the first project to happen will be the Harrison Street sidewalk project. It's just, Sam can attest, we've done like 3 letters now. Now we just did certified letter. We've got about 7 homeowners that we still need.
And then we're gonna move to door knocking, right?
Yeah, we're gonna move to door knocking or whatever else, but the whole project is held up because of that.
So that's for safe routes to school?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have to go through a similar process probably for TAP, depending upon if there's any easement or access issues. So we're gonna need all the help we can get. Yeah, knocking on doors, please sign this form so we can fix up your property for you.
That might
So-
be easier for me to help with.
Yeah.
Business end than I am the residential end.
Yep.
So if you need help with that, obviously I'm here.
And we
Yeah,
have
and that's-
updates to post on the website. I did get something from them to post in terms of so that people, if they're checking in, they can get a status update for TAP as well.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay.
So we are moving through it is a federal grant, so it takes a lot of, if there's a checklist that you have to move through.
Naturally, yeah. So that's why I was also like, oh, it's a jerk. And I know
And
that,
when we were talking about jaywalking earlier, and we're referencing TAP, that is the grant that you're talking
well,
about.
exactly too. And I would also like to, you know, if I can like include sort of asks or wants, like, in, you know, what we would like to see as part of that, if it could be looped in, like flagpole holes, you know, like reinstalled in certain increments, because right now it's like an Easter egg hunt, trying to find them to put the flags out for like the annual events that we have, like Riverfest and Bastille Day, to sort of add to the event and add, like, create a space for a theme and things like that. So flagpole holes in the sidewalks might be not something in the conversation initially that I would like to, you know, those kinds of like little things that might get looked over to sort of be added into. So when we're ready to bring that conversation back to the table, it's stuff like that I was just kind of wondering if you'd be open to including.
Oh, I think we would. We've just, we're gonna hopefully have a meeting, coming up in the next couple of weeks with the engineers to kind of see where are we at with everything.
Awesome.
But the first thing I know, they weren't trying to tackle this Harrison Street project. So,
One thing at a time.
well, it just, I'm just a little frustrated that we've lost like 2 months with just not getting all the signatures in. So that's been really set us back a little bit, but we'll get it. It's just, you know, we're going home by home and we'll get them. So, yeah.
And I also was curious too, again, a few meetings back, there was mention where like, something was brought to the council's attention about like unsafe living situations in rental properties specifically. So I was just wondering, again, if I missed something. I think there was mention of like having some sort of like state liaison or a borough appointed official to go in and make sure that like spaces are, you know, checking boxes, you know, for the safety of the individuals who are renting the spaces and holding building owners accountable for the safety of the spaces for families too. Does that make sense?
Well, we have a rental registry and we have a couple other things, but we tried doing some more assertive things in the past. The governing body didn't have that governing body didn't have the appetite for it at the time.
Okay.
But in terms of the unsafe stuff,
Yeah,
you may have heard us talking about Hunterdon County, and because
Well, there's
there's
two,
charges that can be filed against property owners that are not supplying heat, for example.
Right,
And there were summonses that were issued in those
so there's a
circles.
couple things. I mean, if there,
Right.
if there's a concern about an active issue, you can ask the zoning officer to come out and take a look at the property. That,
Right.
there's nothing that changes that if it's an unsafe condition. So that would be my first step for anyone that thinks they're living in an unsafe condition, but if it's like in the instance we had with a couple of these owners, there was like raw sewage emptying into a basement.
those are the incidences I was talking.
That becomes the
Yeah.
health department, a health issue. The health department came out and got intervened in that situation. So some of that, one of these property owners is still involved in active litigation and summonses and things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I just remembered there being some sort of like that incident in particular kind of sparked a conversation that made me kind of realize that like, oh, yeah, we do kind of need to be checking in.
Well, we did have 4 total ordinances that were crafted that we tried to move on. We only got 2 of the 4 done. For how we were trying to get have a little more teeth and a little more leverage to deal with these landlord tenant issues and particularly safe conditions and safe living spaces. But like I said, we couldn't get that through the last council.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were just 2 things that I was like, I'm not sure if I like saw what sort of ended it, because I was curious just.
Yeah.
how that sort of ended up. So thank you for clarifying
Yep,
that.
you're welcome. Any other questions? With that, I guess it's our motion to adjourn.
So,
What's that? Oh, a discussion, sure, there's correspondence about the wind phone in our packets. That was set up on, the DNR path. It can't be there because there wasn't a permit. There's a request about putting it in Sunday Park, but do you wanna think about that with the
Yes.
Parks Committee maybe?
Yeah.
Take a look at that, okay. That sound good, Evan?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it with?
So it's
it's just the phone.
it's just like a phone, but it's not connected to
Well, it's not
anything.
It's a
Non-functioning phone,
where you can talk to a past relative.
Person that passed away.
yeah.
And apparently there's a registry
And
where
that-
people know where these are.
Yes, there is. There's an
Oh,
online like
interesting.
terminal where people can find them online. There's a network of them and someone put one up on the path here without any permission. Right?
Yeah, it was like, it's very popular, my understanding. It was on the Facebook page for a while. There was
Done.
it was nicely done.
I'm not anti going
But
sunbeam. they
You
just have to
can't
go
put
through
anything on the
proper-
DNR path. I
No,
was
no,
about the
I
permit,
just
so,
don't know what a
Yeah.
wind phone.
That's what
was,
it is.
But
Call
so the-
someone that-
the ask was to relocate it to
Sunbeam
Sunbeam
I
Park.
thought maybe, John makes a good,
What-
point, should be advertising and.
That it's
But
powered
I don't
by,
want to do that.
it's powered by a wind.
It's passed. We should table it, but I think we should definitely discuss it. I think it'd be really
Yeah.
good for, really good for town if we have one.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All